I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we are going to be looking at what the Akashic Records wants you to know. What does that mean? So a while ago, I did a video looking into your Akashic Records contract, your karmic contract, your soul contract, whatever you want to call it. And I will do more videos on that specific subject because you guys seemed very interested, and I am absolutely pumped to hear that you were. But I thought I'd put a different spin on it this time. So when it comes to your Akashic Records contract, karmic contract, your soul contract, we're on the same wavelength. This is basically what you sign up for before you enter this lifetime. Keep in mind, free will is absolute. Within the contract, there is a ton of subclauses and options to every single decision you make. Very rarely will you come across something that just has to happen. And the beautiful thing is, and this is why I'm so enthusiastic about generally sharing, like, hey, did you know that you can change it? This is a huge reason why it's good to become familiar with traveling to the spirit realm. If you're interested in that, I have an intuition training course down below where you can learn to do that, and it goes into all the benefits of how the non-physical and physical overlap. But the point is, you can go in there and you can change things. So the cool thing is, there's already lots of options and you can change things, but looking into it really can help clarify what's going on, because some of it's decisions we're making, some of it's influence from past lives, the list goes on and on. But that's just looking at your contract. That's just looking at what's going to happen next type of scenario. And the Akashic Records is a library, so to speak, of all knowledge ever. And I mean ever, across potential timelines, on every planet, universes, everything. It's gargantuan. Fun fact, everybody is absolutely welcome to that knowledge. Knowledge is for all, which is really beautiful. But you are in a much wider variety of whatever is a need to know situation. So it can apply to your karmic contract. It could be a little more at first seemingly random, like maybe you need to know about a particular subject, and it's not necessarily again back in your soul contract, but it is of value to you right now. Maybe you've been having synchronicities lately, or you kind of have certain questions on the mind, so to speak. And so because this is a library of all knowledge ever, including your contract, it really lets whatever is the most precedent come to the forefront, and you get this beautiful variety, but what is the most helpful or knowledgeable now. Now, please let me know. Please let me know in the comments below, either now or later in the video. If you enjoy this video, I would be happy to make it a series. I'm also still happy to make the Akashic Records contract a series still too, where I do it, periodically, and we check in on your contract. I'm still down to do that. But if you would also like a wider video, it's kind of like, the best way I can explain it is, you're going to get different answers based on the question you ask. So if I just ask your contract, that's going to be a set of answers that are true, but so is the truth in going into just the general knowledge the Akashic Records can offer you at this moment. So you let me know in the comments below if you're interested, because I'm always looking for something that we can kind of continuously dive into, and you're always in a new place in your life and need new information, and what better place to scour it, so to speak, and look deeper into it. Also, please take a moment. It would help out this channel so much if you wouldn't mind just checking that you are subscribed, or subscribing, if you will. Hit that notification, and also please feel to give this video a like, as well as share your thoughts below when you're enjoying the reading. It just really helps out like you would not believe. Besides that, though, if you are interested in supporting this channel, I have a Patreon. So it's, if you want to, you can just, donate there. It's just a kind gesture. But the very cool thing is, so sorry about that interruption. If you donate in that way, you get in return a bunch of exclusive content. and it's really a wonderful gold mine over there. I have hundreds of videos ranging from guided meditations to we even go to the Akashic Records together, and lots of information that I bring back from the Akashic Records, lots of deeper information navigating your psychic abilities, as well as in general understanding like why things are the way they are from both my own personal experiences as well as from others that I have worked with or spoken to, as well as again back to the Akashic Records. Lots of information from spirit guides, channeling, I mean, you name it, it's a wide variety and a fun place to hang out in. So just letting you know that's over there. I actually just posted 2 videos, and one of those videos is an exclusive pick a card, and this is where it gets really fun. The pick a card is actually hosted by the spirit guide I work with. When I do tarot, you often hear me, consult them or talk to them. Well, I channel them, and then they did the pick a card. So again, it is its own unique flavor, and I really appreciate what they have to say and share. And then the second video is a really fun, unique, special video where I am channeling an elemental spirit. They had a really beautiful message and vibe. But something really fun about this is I have been hesitating to do it for a long time because elemental spirits compared to spirit guides just kind of do whatever they want. So you're going to get a more unique personality coming through, but fantastic information always nonetheless. So those are available there. And as per usual, my courses are found down below and in the description if you're interested. But let's get into this reading. We've got 4 groups in front of us. We've got group number 1, which has a Mookaite. Group number 2, we have a Seafoam Calcite. Group number 3, we have a Moonstone. Group number 4, we have a Melakite. So I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. I do highly recommend thinking of the question, what does the Akashic Records want me to know? Like, think of it internally for yourself. And then after you do, hold it there and then pick from what you resonate with. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Now that you have, you can go down to the description and skip to your designated group, but let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's find out what the Akashic Records wants you to know by looking at the cards. We have the Justice card in reverse, the Ace of Swords in reverse, the Six of Swords upright, the Page of Cups in reverse, the 4 of Cups upright, and the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so let me make sure this looks all pretty and even. Okay, so give me just one moment to look at the details of everything and consult my spirit guides, and I will be with you in one moment. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's get into this because it feels like you're a very logical type of person, or someone who thinks from their head more so than their heart. Your heart, or I don't want to say your heart, your emotional side is something we're going to be looking into today. in order to get you more understand where there's like little pockets of resistance or imbalances in your life and understanding where that's coming from. So this will make more sense as we go over everything. So first we'll start with the Ace of Swords in reverse. Now I thought this was really interesting. So a big thing when I read tarot is if my spirit guides ever say something that sounds similar to another tarot card, and I do highly recommend this. This is something we talk about in my tarot training course, but in general, I'm always like, okay, well then why did we get this card but not this card? Because cards can be similar, but they do have different undertones for a reason. And so, oh my gosh. So in the Ace of Swords in reverse, my spirit guide said they are making poor decisions. Like you know better type of, like it's like a bad move type of decisions. And I said, that feels very the Fool in reverse, which is all about this idea of someone making choices that are a risk or a gamble, and they're still making it anyway. And my spirit guide said, well, this is different. They said in the Fool card, it's somebody who is needing to act free. And so they're sort of forcing that narrative within themselves in a hazardous way because they don't feel that at that point in their life. You're not coming from that place. You're just sort of trying to become more open-minded, but almost in a detective scientist-y way of like trial and error of like, well, I don't normally do this. What if I did try to do this? So the intentions are very good. However, basically it's coming forward of being like, yes, that's great that you want to be open-minded, but you know when something's a bad call or bad judgment. Stop making those decisions and moving in that direction. It's just kind of unnecessary is the best way to put it, through the drama, if you will. Like, you would have to be then dealing with the consequences of those actions. I'm not saying anything major, but it's more just like you look back and you're like, I knew better. Why didn't I trust myself? You know what I mean? So nothing major. You can totally see it a mile away. That's great. You want to be open-minded. But if you like internally feel, and my spirit guide described it as like common sense, that you're like, that doesn't feel like the best choice for me. Follow that instinct. You'll know when to be like, I'll try something new. And if you're not feeling that sensation, then move forward with that. And then there you go. That way we better understand how you can both navigate trying new things and being more open while being aware to benefit from how intelligent and how in touch you naturally are with your common sense and way of looking at things and making great judgment and decisions. Use it, you know what I mean? Or you have like permission to use it, if you will. But going forward, then we have the Page of Cups in reverse. Now these are linked, this one and the Four of Cups upright. So my spirit guide said that you're not, how did you put it? Let me ask my spirit guide. Not open. Okay, I was clarifying the jargon because when it comes to communicating with spirit guides, you really want to make sure you really pay attention to the little details, because if they say something in a particular way, they said it that way for a reason and it has like a deeper meaning. So they said, you are not open to hearing good news. And previously my spirit guide was telling me about how they said, notice how I said hearing and not receiving. As in, you can completely still receive good things, wonderful experiences, opportunities, whatever. But it's like, what if a part of that receiving was just the act of being a part of the hearing it? And let me explain this so it makes better sense. Let's say you get this opportunity at work, right? So that's just an example. And it's so exciting, you're gonna have this thing happen. And the way you would have traditionally found out was in an email, right? And it would almost benefit you to a certain degree. We're going to get more into this because we do want to flip this. But it's like it would almost benefit you if that email accidentally went to spam. And then you went to work and your boss or manager or whatever was like, hey, isn't that so great you got this new opportunity? And you're like, huh, what? Because you weren't in a position, you weren't really open to hearing it previously, but that doesn't mean in the end you still don't receive it. Do you see what I'm saying here? So, and keep in mind, when we're trying to open the funnel, if you will, to receiving things in life, remember, manifesting is important, but receiving is just as important. And every experience you have in life is you receiving it. And so, if we want to widen that funnel, if you will, one of those aspects is you just being open and excited about receiving the news of it and just hearing it. And so I said, oh, okay, well, why is that? And they told me that you don't see yourself as worthy. Now, I do want to be clear before we expound upon that point over here. I'm going to just say this and just take it what you will. The idea of worthiness, it comes in many forms, but often there can be like a link back to a situation, whether this be our childhood or a time in our life where we thought that we needed to experience sort of a reward if we did something good or take away if something's bad. And so we start to have this reward system at some point in our lifetime in our mind subconsciously, where then we start to create a narrative of like, oh, if I just believed enough, if I was just worthy enough, if I just, was good enough, and so on and so forth, in order to explain why something worked out or didn't work out. And the reality is, nothing that you do in your lifetime will make you more worthy than you are in this very second. No matter how hurt you are, no matter how insecure you are, no matter whatever you've been through or people have wronged you, or even before then, you have the same level of outstanding worthiness as anybody else. Everybody has it. You are no exception. You are more than good enough as is. It does not matter if you start to try to label off, well, this is why I'm worthy or this is why I'm unworthy. Again, this list of this reward system and explanation. This explanation was created from a previous experience, but the baseline is still there. Nothing's changed, just the confusion of the middleman to explain something that just simply is. So not only are you worthy, which, yay, that's beautiful, that's lovely, but that's something to keep in mind as you reconnect with it, that if you try to explain it away, it actually doesn't make it less true. And if you try to justify it, it doesn't make it more. You just are, and it just is. And just a deeper thought, something to consider. When we haven't received something, and this can go into a promotion, more money, the love of our life, overcoming something that we're really struggling with, and we're trying to dive deeper into understanding ourselves, and for many people it can be a struggle, which is understandable. Keep in mind when it comes to that idea, your worthiness is not the thing that's standing in the way of the receiving. Ironically, a lot of the time, it's the middleman points we were just making. If something is in the way, it's because there's something that you just need to understand or figure out or release or let go of or look at in a new light. But the core idea we were just talking about, you are more than good enough to receive it whenever. That's never in the way of you receiving. So just think of that as you consider reconnecting to a more loving place of yourself. But this unworthiness, and therefore sort of saying to yourself, I don't want to hear good things because I don't think I'm worthy of it, leads to a fixation on lack. Now, this puzzled me at first because Five of Pentacles is more of your traditional focusing on a lacking mindset. And Four of Cups more has to do with like apathy and stuff. And so I asked my spirit guide, I said, well, why did you pick this card rather than another? And they said, One, the imagery is very point blank. And I was like, good point. That is a very great way of somebody who's just really focusing on it all the time above anything else. It's like you have your goals that you would like to get out of it, but it's like you're more focused on it not being here than the idea that it could be here. But also, we want to look at the idea of the 4 and the cups. So in the 4, in the Akashic Records numerology that I've looked deeper into, again, you can find all this information out in my tarot training course. But in the 4, it represents this idea of specifically stability. And you want to think of stability as an idea of like a foundation, a home, your home base that you come back to in order to feel in a good position to build upon ideas and concepts and, whatever you may have, you kind of thing. So over here with cups, this is the representation of our emotional state. So it's like there's some part of you when you're fixating on the idea of lacking that's also begging your own self, please, I just want to feel stable in my emotions. Feel like if I could just regularly feel my best or not feel so in my head and bouncing back and forth day to day, then I would, have it all, so to speak. But sometimes when we don't feel in control in one place of our life, we transfer that somewhere else. So there's a part of you that's like, well, what if I had stability financially? That's what's missing. And if my emotions just weren't in the way, I could have it. You see what I'm saying here? But the bigger problem, and you are very much capable of thinking things in a logical way, and sometimes I know we talk about how important our feelings are, and of course feelings are. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. That is very much the piece of our greater puzzle. But sometimes we all have different tools and think in different ways, and we can use it to our benefit to navigate other parts of ourselves. So again, we're not avoiding the feelings. Never avoid the feelings. We always want to look deeper into it, feel our feelings. They're all valid and genuine. But you can use that logical side of yourself to say, well, interesting. I keep focusing on what isn't here, and it doesn't make me feel good. What does make me feel good? And maybe you like the idea of having money. And maybe that it's become pain for you a little bit. Like you don't love how you feel because you've now associated only with lacking. So I'd first say, take a break. Just stop thinking about it. Go for a walk. Say to yourself, my only goal is to do a fun hobby. Do this for a day, a week, 2 weeks. Get out of this headspace. And then slowly reintroduce yourself to the concept of money. But make a deal with yourself that you don't need to focus on it every second of every day. That didn't work before, so clearly it makes sense we should do something different. And when you do think of it, only think of what you do like the idea of. Maybe you like the idea of being a money magnet, or you like the idea of if the lacking was feeling like positive things in your life, you like the idea of hearing positive news or good news your way, whatever that concept is for you. And you're just going to have the thought, you're going to just be like, I like that. But if you feel any little voice in your head that says, that's never going to happen, I'm not good enough, whatever, you're going to stop that voice and go, I love you. We're going to come back to you in a second. We're going to have this moment to me, and we're going to now handle you later in maybe like an hour when I feel a little calmer, and we're going to face that later. We're going to face that head on later, but right now we're just going to have a concept. And you're just slowly sort of desensitizing yourself to the idea of it. And you just kind of like put the idea out there, and then you live your life the rest of the day. You casually bring it up at lunch to yourself for a second, think something positive that you do like the idea of, move on, forget about it the rest of your day. And on one level, you're going to negotiate with yourself and say, I'm just going to say it and move on, no expectations. And you're just going to practice getting used to that idea of like, let me put out what I want, but then the rest of the time I'm not going to think about it. And then if you do feel any feelings of unworthiness or whatever, of course, tackle that, give that love, dig deeper into why you feel like that's being activated. But try to take a break in between it, come back to it with fresh thoughts, and think whenever you start to find yourself kicking into that lacking mindset, that fixation of wanting to think about it all the time, so you have to say to yourself, well, it didn't work before. We're trying a new experiment, if you will. You know what I mean? Now, going forward, we have the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Now, this is when we get into an interesting subject, and this is why soul contracts are so useful. So, my spirit guide said, it's not that people are trying to use you, but you in a previous lifetime weren't the nicest to others. And so in this lifetime, you're sort of seeing what that feels like when the shoe is on the other foot, if you will. Now, with that in mind, we're not saying, oh, this is it, that's your life, woe is you, you're the only one. No, 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 no. You are not an exception. Everybody, ever, in all of their lifetimes, has experienced every side of the dice, coin, whatever you want to say, of society. And so just keep that in mind. You're not the only one. But with that in mind, we do have to have that type of honest conversation with ourselves and understand, like, it just was what it was. You know, you're not making those decisions now, but those were some decisions you made back then. And we can heal this, essentially. So the best way you can do this is basically straight up, I've talked about this a million times, but go see your spirit guides. You can have your own method, or I have a method over in the intuition training course if you're interested. But with that, you want to go see your spirit guides and just basically be like, hey, I heard I have some past lives that are associated to the subject. Can we go cross those over? Can we go explore that? Or you can, my spirit guide was saying that you can just sit in deep meditation with the intention that you want this remedied. You want to deeper, like, feel and sense this and have it cross over, essentially, and take, like, ownership of it. Because that's a fun thing. We have karma, but you can actually remedy karma, which is really cool. That idea actually gets expanded upon a little bit when we go over here in the Justice card in reverse. So my spirit guide said that whenever there is an imbalance in your life, and it's not every time for all issues, but it's a major theme in your life, whenever something seems off, like maybe your receiving's off, you feel off. Keep in mind, I do want to be clear, this is not the solution for everything. Sometimes we feel off because there are current day feelings that you can go talk to someone about and deal with things. I'm just saying that there can be a factor of influence popping up. I'm just saying that. And if you see it in your life, just like in the general flow of your experience of like, man, I'm just not making as much money as I used to. I used to have all these friends. Where'd they go? That kind of thing. If you're sensing that, there is a pretty big possibility in your lifetime that it is an imbalance associated to karma. So it seems like in this lifetime, you're heavily clearing it out, so to speak. And again, we talked about that. Learning the ability to go to the spirit realm, so you can go talk to your guides and go clear it. That one is the most fun, cathartic, and like effective in my opinion. But again, back to that idea before, is you are more than welcome to do a nice deep meditation and sit in it very, deeply and be like, what do I need to understand or learn? And then like letting it go and like meditating on it. And that's effective as well. But that's something to remember going forward. If you're ever like, everything was going great, and then it feels like the universe is, something's happening, basically, so to speak. And there you go. It's a little bit of a clue just to dig deeper into asking that question, essentially. And then once you clear it, there is definitely an integration time. Sometimes it can be an hour, sometimes it can be a month for people, but the more open you are, and we're going to get to that in 1 second, the faster you can speed up the process, essentially, and then just benefit. Now, with the Six of Swords upright, this does talk about the confirmation and guarantee that everything's going to be just fine. And you are going to ultimately get to greener pastures with these various subjects and feel better and feel more connected to yourself and feel more like a part of the process and feel more confident and so on and so forth. However, when we have a Six of Swords situation, this it basically can be a slower, rougher journey to the better situation. And basically my spirit guide said that the more resistance you put into the circumstance versus being open will change the course of what's happening, as in, not the course as in it will go somewhere else, as in it will go into a bad direction or a good direction. You're going to head towards the good direction where you feel like the best version of yourself. However, the more open you are, the more you're willing to be, self-accountable, have the difficult conversations about your feelings with other people, dive into relieving that karma from your life and stuff like that. The more open you are about that, the faster the process, the faster the feeling better, everything. And the more you're sort of like, nope, not my fault, don't want to deal with this is unfair, why me, anything like that, you're slowing it down. So you're going to get there either way, but why not speed it up? Why not enjoy it sooner? So love this for you, because I feel like we went into questions that were sort of on the tip of your tongue for a while. You're just like, why this? And it really just kind of hit every little angle, but also gave a ton of and if you experience this, it's this. And if you ever have this happen, look into this. And I love that. That's one of the biggest reasons why I love working with my spirit guides and the Akashic Records, because if you ask and you're open, you will receive. I actually think it's one of the reasons why I'm fortunate enough to get the type of information I get, because I would definitely say I'm one of those people. I'm definitely one of those people that are like, I'm happy to know. Let's get into it. Let's get real. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. And I have a question for you. What way do you think that you could be more open or vulnerable to making the process more seamless? Or do you feel like karmically there's something you can't quite explain, but it's like you sense it? It's like you're like I always had a feeling this. I'd love to genuinely know, because those senses are forms of our intuition and our psychic abilities, and when we share them with one another, we are not only more aware of it ourselves and then therefore benefiting from it, but we are also simultaneously helping others connect to that. So I love this for you. Also, please give this video a like, subscribe, notification. I will see you in the next one. I am wishing you the best, and let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out, what does the Akashic Records want you to know by looking at the cards. We have a 9 of Swords upright. I am already getting information on that. 2 of Cups in reverse. Ooh, 2 of Cups upright, very significant. We have the Empress in reverse. We have the Chariot in reverse. And we have the 6 of Swords upright. Okay, give me just one moment to look at everything and to consult my spirit guides. Okay, we're gonna get kind of intense in this one. A lovely, positive, helpful intense, but yeah. So first, I want to start with the most negative thing in this reading, so that we can end on more of a positive note and things that are helpful. And it's just kind of a great way to set a stage of saying, this other stuff's really important. I don't say this lightly if you are familiar with my readings. We are very pro, okay, we'll look at the, darker or more serious stuff in order to foresee it and then change it, that type of stuff. And if you are also familiar with my readings, you know that my spirit guides rarely, as well as I, will say something is of great importance. I just want to be really clear about that before we go into that, to understand that. But even though we're going into a little bit of a darker start to everything, that doesn't, we can change that. It's still, that change is still there, which is great. So my spirit guide full on said that, I said, right now or in the future? And they said, in the future. Oh, let me just double check one thing. My spirit guide said, a teeny tiny bit right now, but more in the future. There is the potential for you to experience great anxieties and tragedy, which is, I don't know about you, not the vibe I think your average person wants. And when they were telling me, and I was looking at everything and looking at all the details and consulting them, and they were telling me in order, they ended the order with telling me this. And I was like, okay, what do we do to solve that? Let's not have that in their future. And they said, if they follow this, not going to happen. They're going to be totally good. This is not going to be an issue at all. Let me just double check. Oh, my spirit guide said, not an issue in the least bit. Let me just verify one more time. You know me, I like to triple check. Okay, cool. So now going forward, what do we want to look at and focus on in order to basically remove this from the reading in your future? So first we're going to start off with the Two of Cups. And if you notice, we've got an upright and reversal showing the significance of this card. And I'm glad the reverse came up because it gives sort of an understanding of a balance, if you will, not only on the subject at hand, but a balance between how to view it and approach this subject. So my spirit guide said, you will experience greater happiness if you focus on equality, as in you put your intention towards when you are interacting with others, whether that be romantic, friendship, work, or whatever, your main goal and hope is that whatever you're putting in, you're getting in return. And one of the things they said that was really important about this idea is that it's you might not be fully aware of how much you will gain from it in manifesting, in realizing, oh, this is what really makes me happy type of scenario. But one of the ways you receive that is through the imagery over here, which my spirit guide was pointing out, the wrap around the bunny's ears. As in they're unable to hear, and this is how they put it. They said they shouldn't listen to other people's input in the sense that, let me do the best I can to explain this, of what other people say you should do. That's how they put it. And I asked more questions on this subject. Now, a good comparison of what this means is different than friendships and stuff like that. We're not talking about that necessarily, maybe a little. Oh, my spirit guide said not at all. Never mind, not at all. It's more okay, and hear me out on the bigger picture of what I'm about to say. But sometimes on social media, so let's say you wanted a relationship and you were man, I haven't been in good relationships. I would like it to be better. So we're talking about, you should try to strive for a relationship where when you put a certain amount of effort in, they put it back, and you have this nice even flow. And this is, when we say equality, we're talking about equality in respect, energy, time, everything. We're not looking at it as a barter system of I do this, you do that, but more just the general oh wow, I'm naturally a giving and loving person. It's so great to have that in return type of scenario. But when we're looking at social media, sometimes people love to share whatever they've been through personally. Or people who make a living from it will share hey, if your partner doesn't do X, Y, and Z, drop them. Or if they do this, do that. I did this because they did that because this equals this. Now, I want to be clear. it is a really wonderful thing that we share our experiences or our advice. It saves one another time. It helps each other understand. Ooh, those are some good warning signs. I wasn't even aware that I should look at in my own partner. I'm not saying completely kick that out of your life, or even saying that's a negative thing at all. It's more that it kind of gets in your head and then you're only making decisions from that rather than just sort of pushing it all out of the way, focusing only on a combination of like, what do you want in the situation? What makes you happy? Then interacting with the other person and seeing if you get that in return, and if you don't, just being like, oh, okay, I'm not seeing the return here. I'm going to keep looking for another person or connection or whatever it may have you. Because remember, this can be romantic, this can be coworkers, this can be friendship, it can be anything. But being like, oh, I'm not getting that in return. Okay, well, I'm going to move on and find someone else. Instead of only in your head feeling that inner voice of all these other influences being like, they did this, it means this, and blah, blah, blah. And you're sort of pulling away individualistically, finding your voice, and most importantly, just living life, and then from living it, quickly noticing, oh, let me simplify the process. I'm not getting that equal exchange back. Okay, I'm going to move on until I find that nice pairing of the two. Again, want to be clear, those other voices that we were just giving as an example, valid, wonderful. We're so appreciative of their insight. That is not a bad thing to look into and stuff like that. But you're just sort of pulling away and reconnecting with your inner voice more and letting your narrative and future more be held by your experiences going forward with a simple sort of temperature gauge of it all. If you're being like, yeah, do you match this energy? Yes or no? Now, the Two of Cups in reverse is fantastic because it's like being aware of, well, if I focus here, then what's this essentially? This is just a forewarning that if you do get into a relationship and you are very much viewing it as a barter system and you are seeing it as something where like, I do this, did they do that? No, they didn't. This is unjust, this is unfair. You're only attracting and like bringing that energy in. You're just sort of naturally living life, and then every now and then mentally checking in with yourself in the situation and being like, oh, do I feel like they are with the intention trying to bring the same energy back as me? And just noticing it. And if you just don't feel like it's there, you move on. But if you catch yourself in this headspace, it's a matter of just pulling back and being like, whoa, I'm overthinking this process. Let me just give a second to just be myself, be who I am. Maybe even pull away in general from energetically giving to someone in order to redefine yourself independently, and then go back into it when you're making decisions out of wanting to make a kind, loving gesture to someone else, not because you're hoping to get X, Y, and Z back. Do you see what I'm saying there? It's a nice like tete-a-tete, so to speak. Now, going forward, I think this is really interesting because I feel these two were not unrelated, if you will. So my spirit guide said that in the Empress card in reverse, there is a difficulty within you not to connect to your inner mother. So it's like you just can't help it. You care about people. You want to be there for people. And I guess there's a potential with the Two of Cups. It's talking about being aware of not overdoing it and not having a certain part of yourself be open to receiving that same energy back, or even pulling back a little bit so you give the opportunity of the other person, or you don't give yourself away, so to speak. But in the Empress in reverse, it's like there's being loving and then there's being motherly. And while that is not a negative trait to have, there is a point where you feel like you'd like to be equals with someone who cares about someone else, not having to sort of baby them, if you will, or feeling like maybe they're just dependent on you or attracted to you because of that set of skills, which can, for your average person, feel very confusing to experience because you're like, that's not the same energy I was looking for. I'm not looking to be parented back. You know what I mean? I was looking for an equal exchange type of thing. So keep that in mind. And then I asked my spirit guide, I was like, well, okay, well, how do they remedy this situation essentially? And this is when we have the Chariot in reverse. My spirit guide basically just said, slow down. In the Chariot in reverse, in this particular case and scenario, this individual knows they're going to get to the end. It's definitive. They're going to get to their ending point. But because they know they're going to get to their definitive point, they're just kind of slowing down, they're pulling back a little bit. This could be because they want to check something, they want to look at the sidelines for a second, maybe they want to enjoy the process, maybe they want to reevaluate something before they get to their situation. So this is you just, instead of like feeling that urge to be like, oh, I want to care for them, or what about this, or what if they have this, you're going to slow it down. You will get to the end point of your happy ending, conclusion, whatever may have you, and you're just essentially going to be like, oh, I'm going to go pull back, slow down, let me get my head on straight, let me think about things, and it will feel easier to act from whatever you think and feel in that moment, rather than kind of kicking into a persona or personality trait that you can easily express, but might not be your true feelings. Do you see what I'm saying? Essentially, I feel like when people kick into this mindset, they're not actually allowing themselves to be like angry or upset or really honestly express who they are. Because many people feel when they are in this headspace, they wouldn't want to do that to that person that they are quote unquote nurturing in that kind of way. You know what I mean? And your feelings are valid and you are allowed to be whoever that is. I'll let you in on a little secret. My spirit guides say, you know, you want to act from your aligned self, but sometimes your aligned self is angry and that's okay. And like, go for it. Like, definitely, always keep in mind, if anyone's trying to say to you, high vibrational, low vibrational, ignore it. You are welcome to definitely connect to the positive things in life and what could be, and focus towards what you do want to happen. These are definitely routes that you should try to connect with because they feel so great and they really open up more manifesting, receiving. But no one ever said to avoid the stuff that still needs to be healed and faced. Our shadow self is not the enemy, it is the helper, and it is a beautiful part of who we are, and everything in between. So just keep that in mind. Now, going forward, we have the Six of Swords still kind of carrying out this energy. It's almost like we start here where we reevaluate. This is a different way to approach and attract what you really want. And then we go into like why and how to get out of that why. And then it gets even deeper. In the Six of Swords in upright, I'm so sorry. This is someone who is resistant to, not resistant, it's like you're slowing down the process of getting what you want when you have this type of attitude, which is somebody who's sort of like naturally ready to put up a fight, which is really interesting, but not surprising, if you will, when you have somebody who overlooks themselves, so they don't even think of asking for equality. When somebody is jumping in to be nurturing this kind of way, it's not surprising that there's a side of them that's like frustrated and angry or is afraid of getting hurt again. So there's this natural defensiveness. Now, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean lay down and just sort of like let whatever happens. It's just about doing your best to approach every situation with a certain sense of openness. And let me be more clear about this so it's easier to potentially strive for this. When you are entering a situation, your internal subconscious part of you is like, what if I get hurt? What if they put me in a situation that makes me uncomfortable? What if? You get what I'm saying? But you're already saying you're expecting that to happen. And we want to try to attract to you as well as get into a better headspace day to day for your just like quality of life, where you approach every situation as like, but this could be awesome. This could be, I'm open to it being a good situation, right? But then you have a good head on your shoulders. The second you get a vibe, you feel something, someone says something slightly off cuff, you just pull away and you go, oh, no, universe, I will not be having that into my world and reality. And then you just go off. But every time you're entering a situation with the possibility that this could be your next best friend, this could be the love of your life, whatever may have you, that type of scenario, it has a greater chance of it happening. But if you're entering every situation like that natural inner subconscious part of you that's like ready to like feeling frustrated by the past, it's going to put put you in a headspace where you're just not currently open to making these type of connections. So again, this goes back to the idea of we're not avoiding our feelings. Talk about it. Go relate this to someone. Uncover what this means. Dig deeper into the shadow self of you. It exists for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. But understand why. Get the catharsis you need. But understand that if you try to approach more situations with an openness, it will have an effect and results you'll be happier with. But that doesn't mean lying down, letting whatever happen. The second you sense something's off, get out of there. The second it's not going your way, you're not being treated equally, even if it's not on an extreme level, get out of there. So overall, there is a lot of greater understanding here, and I love all the direction and headspace you can exercise. And think of this as pointing you towards paths you didn't even know you could hop on, and see them as the safety nets that are not only just like a happier situation, but going back to this first card, it's just, you're basically dodging situations that you don't want by doing this and simultaneously getting what you didn't realize you needed. So remember, slow down, be aware if someone's not giving back what you're putting in. You can just easily move on, not a big deal. Do the best you can to be open, but be mindful that when you feel defensive, it's coming from a natural place, and go to explore that, or remove yourself from a situation that doesn't feel good vibes is the best way. I'm just going to lightly put it. And yeah, I would love to know what you guys think below, please. What is something that you would hope to get back in a partner or a friendship or coworker that you put in return? Like, what would you like exchange? Like, what's most important to you? Energy, time. Is there a particular activity you would love them to do for you as you do for them, type of thing? And also, please don't forget to leave on this video a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing the next one. And let's get ready for our next group. Group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out, what does the Akashic Records want you to know by looking at the cards. We've got 6 of Cups upright, Queen of Pentacles upright, the 7 of Wands upright, the 10 of Cups in reverse, the Knight of Cups up in reverse, and the World card in reverse. Give me just a one moment, if you will, to look at everything and consult my spirit guide. So I'll be with you in one moment. Okay, this is gonna be an awesome cathartic one. Okay, so there is actually a lot of good news and positive stuff within this, and I did double check some confirmation based stuff so I can be like, guess what, and give you a bit of a timeline. But with that being said, it is gonna go a little bit in a route where it will initially might not be fun things you want to hear at first, but that's okay. Sometimes we gotta talk about that stuff in order to lead us to the other stuff, and it needs to be spoken about in order to lead us to the stuff that will ultimately be more exciting to hear about and make us very happy. So first, let's start off with the World card in the reverse and the Knight of Cups in reverse, because they are correlated to each other. So my spirit guide said that, as we can see in the imagery of this card here, that right now it feels like your view of the world, like your perspective is that the world is sort of breaking apart, and understandably so, and you're seeing it that way, and obviously it deeply affects you, and that's completely understandable. But because of this headspace you're in and interpreting everything in only this one way, this is when we have the Knight of Cups in reverse, which is when basically you're just not in a position to receive good news. So this is kind of a combination of things in your life that you would, bring you happiness, and think of it like manifestation and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just like receiving more things that would put you in a better mood or make you feel in a better headspace and stuff like that because of this perspective. Now, I want to be clear. It is completely understandable that you are bothered or overwhelmed by, various things. That is not a question or something we're trying to push away or anything like that. I want to be clear. But understand, it's like you're only right now, and this is how my spirit guide put it, it's one perspective you have right now. It's like you're viewing it as in the process of breaking and not seeing the potential of, well, there's always the other option. It could always rebuild. It could always change. Would you like it to change? That's a good thing. You know what I mean? So my spirit guide was saying that because this is the case, we have two different things we know from this information. One, we have that we see where your values are at, that the thing that is the most important to you at this very moment is the greater scope of everyone and everything, which is actually a really beautiful trait to have. And I really appreciate that you exist in the world. You make it a better place by holding space for everyone in that kind of way. And that's really a wonderful quality. But at the same time, my spirit guide said, you should sort of take some time away from this headspace and this type of information and just do things that make you feel happy and pull you back to you and your perspective and your individual reality. And then when you're in a better headspace, return to this. Because like I said, and this is how my spirit guide put it, they said, this is their perspective right now. Yes, this is a perspective and a thing that you're experiencing. But that doesn't mean that simultaneously while these things are happening, there isn't the opposite happening. Like sometimes things, and I don't want to get too I want to be as sensitive as possible about this, but sometimes things go through sort of like a regenerative process, if you will. Kind of like dismantle and then come back together better. We pull things apart in order to make sense of the individual parts in order to better come back building it together in a new way. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like another perspective. I'm not saying that's the perspective. I want to be absolutely clear about that. I'm just saying that there can be multiple things to be true. And this perspective is only bringing you down and is not bringing more help to the circumstance. When you give yourself some time to pull back, reconnect with yourself, get in a better headspace, you can come back to this and be like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do to remedy and be a part of it being a better circumstance? Do you see what I'm saying? But it's really hard to do that when you just only feel lost in what seems like what isn't working or what isn't happening. So again, thank you so much for holding this space and being this wonderful individual that cares. I totally feel you on that personally. But we can approach it in a new way that's more beneficial for both you and everyone. And going forward from that though, we have the Ten of Cups in reverse, which is weirdly a positive one. So my spirit guide said that there is a deep unhappiness going on with you, but it's a very interesting deep unhappiness. So you could have gotten another card that would imply like you're just not in a good space right now, but the way my spirit guide described this particular card is that like your day-to-day life, from a combination of your work to how you go about doing fun activities to where your headspace is in, everything, just your day-to-day life, whatever that may entail, it's just kind of literally everything you hate. Like, as in, there's a part of you on some level that does know and want to do exactly what they want to do. And you find great happiness in being like, what is it that's my truest passion? I want to have that occupation. What actually makes me happy in a day? I want to connect to what that is. So there's a part of you that's extremely ready to live your most authentic, happiest version of yourself. And right now, because you're not getting to experience it, it's like an extra level of a low, because you're just like, not only am I not happy with my circumstances, but it's not good enough that I'm not getting, like, let's say you're not making enough money, or you just kind of have like not the greatest like boss or coworkers or work environment, or maybe you just have like, it's a little annoying, the, you know, space that you live, or how you have to, like, maybe there's things in the way when you're trying to do basic things like run errands or whatever, or whatever that may have you, whatever the circumstances are. And you're just saying like, no, I don't want it to be slightly better. I want it to be exactly this dream, wonderful life that fills me with happiness. This is the exact type of genre and way I want to think and feel and connect with, and everything like that. So we love that for you. We love that there is something inside you that you do know and you do want to connect with. So my spirit guide said you're going to use this as sort of like a compass, if you will. And my spirit guide said you're going to put all of your attention towards making that happen. Like, they made it sound very much like uncompromising, both with yourself, the people around you, and your environment. And you're going to also simultaneously do whatever you can to pull away from, not engage, not put your energy towards things that are not absolutely bringing you this type of joy. So an example is really intent. Like, I would highly recommend starting this journey by like deeply being like, okay, I want a better job. This is my dream job. If I could really think about it, this is my dream job, or I would like to find my dream job, whatever that may be. And you're going to set that intention, or whatever that may be. And the intention that you're going to get in this headspace no matter what. And then start like just going out of your way to apply for these potential jobs. Like, you're just going to start moving yourself in that direction. But every time you're like interacting with other people, you're going to regularly be like, is this like the friendship of my dreams? Or is this someone I'm settling with because I don't know anyone else? Nope, I'm going to go figure out and make new friends. And I'm just honestly, you kind of have actually brought me down more than you've lifted me up. I'm just going to stop talking to you. And you're just going to constantly have that headspace of like uncompromising everything, every decision. You reading a book, this is an okay book. Stop reading the book. Find the best book that you've ever had. Start things, you don't really love it, you already are getting your answer, it's not what is aligning up with you, you're moving on. And the coolest part about this, and this is what I mean by it being such a positive thing for you, and like I talked about it being a lot of good news in this, I was actually told that not only would you step into this like as a confirmation it would happen, let me just double check that to be sure. Yes, okay, cool. Good. I'm happy to hear that. I was just double checking to make sure that this is a confirmation that this ultimately will happen. But I was like, oh, could I have like a time frame? And they said about 10 months, it would be 180 for you. As in 10 months, we're not just talking about a better one thing in your life, like something major, like a career. We're talking about friendships, day-to-day life, activities, dreams, future fun trips you want to take, everything, complete 180 in every single aspect of your life, which is an amazingly fast amount of time. So you're going to get started today and focus on the things we talked about, putting your energy where you want and being active about saying, I see where my energy could go and it's not going anywhere. I'm pulling away my energy from that area. I'm not going to compromise in any single aspect of your life. If you're like, this is an okay snack, you are going to go hike down to the convenience store and get the snack of your dreams. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, moving forward though, we have the Seven of Wands, which really gives us an understanding of what's going on over here, because it makes sense that because of this, it influences this. So I was told that you've been through a lot, which has really put you in a fight or flight type of mindset. And I'm so sorry you've been through that. You're not alone. Like, a lot of people have been there. That is so understandable. But it's not a fun experience going through that. You don't feel like you're thinking from the best place of yourself, and you feel like you're just sort of getting by, just what's going to get you to the next place that you know you're existing from. And sometimes it can feel like you are just existing. And that's why it can be reassuring to predetermine if things are not working out great, because it's sort of like a protective mindset. I don't want to get like too deep into this, and everybody's experience is, individual. I want to be absolutely clear about this. But with that being said, the spirit guides have told me just straight up that they want to see you and they would like to help you heal this. And I said, oh, okay, what if, they don't have those like abilities right now? And again, fun fact, I do have an intuition training course, which talks about how to go to the spirit realm and meet your spirit guides. I'm just putting that out there. But keep in mind, I'm aware not everyone is enjoying that course. So I always try to keep the options open of saying what are the possibilities? And I normally from the crew, I'm like, oh, can they just meditate on it? And they were like, no, come see us. So do with that with what you will. I mean, you are welcome to go approach them in whatever method, works for you. Keep that in mind. But anything where you were getting to speak to them face to face and get to work with them one-on-one. This is really important too, because there are, you know me, I'm always a promoter of just straight up going to the spirit realm, talking to your spirit guides straight up. But when you do go there, you gain such a benefit that is exclusive, because how am I going to explain this? So when you go to the spirit realm, there are things that you can comprehend or receive that are just going to feel a lot different than they do in the physical world. There's no other way to put it. I can't tell you the amount of times, both personally for me in my own life, but also I've seen for other individuals when they've personally gone to the spirit realm and had their own experiences, where maybe you've been told something a million times before, in the physical world, and it just didn't sort of hit, if you will. It just didn't really deeply affect you or change your perspective, and then it's you hear it again, and because you're being communicated with on so many intense levels, it just deeply does something to your internal being, and you receive something, both answers and a sense of closure sometimes, and there's many different aspects to put it, that that you just didn't feel when you heard it before in a similar way in the physical world. So that's just some peace of mind to keep that in mind. But they can really help you with this. And we're actually going to come back to this concept with this over here. But first, before we get over there, we're going to look at the Queen of Pentacles. Now, my spirit guide said there's someone in your life that is both helping you and hurting you, which I think is really interesting. We did get a Queen of Pentacles, so it's very much that energy of someone who is sort of there's a definite comfortable leadership position in the relationship between the two of you. They're comfortable taking the wheel, they know you come to them for help or advice or whatever may have you. And when it gets to be a negative side, it kind of feels more maybe there's a part of them that has trouble letting you go. So maybe there's times where they're helping you be more independent, and then there's times they're making you more codependent kind of concept. Or they're giving you this great advice and telling you don't accept anything less, or that's understandable what you've been through. But then there's sort of sometimes projecting their own stuff, or putting you in a position that you feel difficult talking back to or standing up for yourself, when sometimes they can be in the wrong. So it's a complex thing. And the interesting thing is, my spirit guide said that eventually you will graduate from this friendship. And that's just the way they put it. And you'll kind of naturally find other people that maybe you don't even need this type of mentor relationship anymore type of thing. But in the meantime, my spirit guide said that you should really consider getting more separation between them. But specifically, it's not that you're just full on being I will now not talk to you as much. It's more that they are still helpful in your life, and you can more than interact with them during that time period. You'll know when you're getting the good advice and you feel like they're lifting you up and helping you be independent and strong and believe in yourself and in better circumstances and so on and so forth. And then when you start to sense that maybe there is some internal projection they are projecting upon you, or they're trying to get in your head a little bit to keep you with them, that's when you're going to want to step back and maybe not visit them as much, not share as much. You're just going to sort of give some separation between you and them when that happens. So that way you can still have a relationship with them and benefit from the good parts of them, but you're also saying to yourself, I deserve only the good parts, as we talked about here. I'm allowed to have only the good parts. And in addition, am I not only allowed to have the good parts, but I'm setting a healthy boundary that not only with this relationship, but in the future with other people I interact with, I'm allowed to have boundaries. I'm allowed to say when. You know what I mean? I do also want you to keep in mind a common thing we've had over here. All of it's building up towards talking about the stuff that is like where your perspective is at and where it could go. But also, if you notice, a big theme going on so far this reading is this, like, you want all or nothing. I wouldn't describe that as like a defining trait about you, but I'm trying to just like sum it up in the most general terms. So take what I'm saying as sort of like a certain grain of salt, but in a good way. Where like when you feel it getting bad or rough, or you don't like the way something is going, as we talked about over here or over here, I mean, it is mega for you, and there's almost a fixation on it, and it's like, if it's not great, then none of it's great kind of thing. And the interesting thing is, this reading is not about you becoming more nuanced or more familiar with the gray or whatever. It's about saying, take that mentality you have, flip it on the 180 in order to pilot your life to become that ultimate all type of scenario. And keep in mind, I will say this, I'm going to let you in a little secret. When it comes to this, it's oftentimes more helpful if you put your headspace towards what you want to happen and not get lost and give up in what feels like, oh, this is it. This is all there is. To a certain degree, that's what some individuals want from you. And we don't give them what they want. You know what I mean? You're creating a space both mentally, energetically, through your manifestation ability, because you can manifest for the world. You can do stuff for the world. No one said you can't. But being in that headspace where you're saying, I like this. I don't like that. I'm separating from that. I'd prefer this instead. Just always going for that all is a great part of yourself that you're bringing to the world, because not only are you positively affecting people in your life, but everyone around you is going to be like, yeah, what if I just didn't settle either? Life could be that great. And you could be like, yeah, I'm living proof. I was here and now I'm here. And all it took was me just saying no more. For myself, for people around me, for my environment, what I didn't like. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm just saying there's a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of like where you're going to be headed, and it's a very empowering thing. I will comment on that. So last but not least, we have the Six of Cups. So my spirit guide said that there are hints and pieces of you still in the past. So this is a commentary on two different things. Back to what we said of working with the crew and healing some of that stuff. Some of this has to do with soul fragment loss. I've talked about this like a million times, like here on this channel, over on the Patreon. So I've talked about this a million times. But just to like sum her up simply, you can experience things that cause you great grief. Sometimes it can be like very small things. They don't have to be huge life events, but you sort of like break apart, if you will. And this, keep in mind, this is not always the case for everyone. I'm just talking exclusively how common soul fragment loss is. And it can be a situation, like be parts of the way we're feeling, Not everything, I want to be clear about that, but just sometimes. But with that being the case, when you are pulled apart in that kind of way, it does feel harder to come from a headspace where you feel fully yourself, because you're literally not fully yourself. And the cool thing is you literally can just like call those pieces back, you can heal them, all that good jazz. But also, I was being told by my spirit guide that there are like parts of yourself where like maybe there was something that you really liked in the past that motivated you, that made you feel like excited, or a direction you previously wanted to go in life that you forgot about. I mean, it's various, like there's little pieces of things that you've kind of left in the past that you can revisit that will be beneficial now. So definitely, if you're not just straight up talking to the crew, definitely before you go to bed tonight, tell them I'd like a dream that associates to these parts of myself. Like, I'd love to get a better clue of what that is. Also, you can do tarot. I also have a tarot training course if you're interested in that. But you can do tarot for yourself too, that as well, be specific. You can do pendulum, but to be honest with you, this is the type of thing where it's like, you're going to get more of like a broader conversation from tarot cards, in my opinion, for this particular subject. But anyways, so I love this for you. I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, do you have a hint of what these pieces could be from the past? What is something where, when you think of revisiting this subject, like what part of you would put you in a better headspace? Like, what could inspire not only yourself now, so it kind of, it's like you're almost putting it down in the comments below, but you're also almost putting it like a notebook to yourself, reminding yourself, I'm going to go do this thing that make me feel better. But also, this can inspire other people to be like, yeah, you know what, that sounds great. Like, my favorite thing is I love a good drive and like looking at pretty architecture or like landscapes and like listening to like an audiobook or music or a podcast. Bellissima. I love that. But anyways, yeah, please let me know in the comments below. Also, please leave this video a like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing the next one. And let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out, what does the Akashic Records want you to know by looking at the cards. First, we have the Six of Wands upright, the Page of Cups in reverse, the Strength card in reverse, the Judgment card in reverse, the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, and the Five of Swords upright. Okay, give me just one moment to look at the details of this and consult my spirit guides. Okay. All right, let's get into this. This is a reading that, I will be honest with you, it will be very helpful, but sort of buckle up, if you will. You're gonna be in the end very happy to be like, okay, cool, know this about myself, and oh, cool, I'll go in this direction, awesome, and overall, it has like a positive end result. But we're gonna be talking about some just straight up, like, this is where it is. You wanted to know? Let's get into it type of thing. So this type of stuff, while being read separately, is sort of intertwined, if you will. So I'm going to read it as such. So first we've got the Six of Wands. Now this one's interesting. My spirit guide was talking about how traditionally this card talks about the idea of being generous to people, but that's not what's going on. They described it as every time you're interacting with someone, you want to kind of hone into whatever it is they individually need and then give that to them. So your intention is like, okay, every time I'm interacting with someone, I'm going to give them something. I'm going to be generous in some kind of way, whatever that may be. But I'm going to really specialize it person to person, and knowing that's sort of the answer to whatever the circumstances. So maybe they come to you and it's a direct request. But sometimes it's just like they're talking to you and you know that you can give them something that will be a positive benefit to you, a positive interaction for them, a positive interaction that in the long term it's going to benefit you, just a nice friendship experience or whatever may have you. But you're going to be really in this headspace of like, okay, what do you need? I realize that. Let me give you an ear to listen to. You need to know that. Let me give you a suggestion that might be helpful, that type of thing. So with that being said, I then deeper went into it and I was like, that sounds a lot like training. And my spirit guide was like, yes. Now, what do I mean by that statement? So everything that you're doing and experiencing in life is for a reason, is something. You know what I mean? Like it's building to something. It's giving you a message. You're helping like heal a part of yourself, you're connecting to yourself better, it's something, you know what I mean? And sometimes you're going to do stuff that almost feels detached from a clear goal. It's sort of just an experience you're having. And fun fact, you'll look back later in your life and you're like, oh, that's now a really useful skill that I've built upon. Or this thing opened my mind up for this other concept to be able to easily receive or enjoy, and so on and so forth. And for me, it feels like you are building both the ability to anticipate what people need, but it's almost like an example of you building a network. And this network of people that you interact with will continue in the long run, as in you could potentially receive things from them like opportunities, connections, answers, resources. But sometimes it's as simple as you want to go do a fun activity and you know that these are the people that you can go hang out with because you've built that type of connection or something like that. Or you now need an ear, someone to listen to you and an ear to, I want to say an ear to lean on. You want to lean on them, and then you also want to have them to hear you out and be there for you in that kind of way, and they'll be more ready to, and so on and so forth. But sometimes it's just understanding what people need in order to then use that in, like, let's just be real, in this day and age, to be able to anticipate what people need is an extremely useful skill. And you're getting that from just like an individual one-on-one, like, what is this? What is that? So it is both a thing that you're going to want to work towards and focus on right now, but it's also going to be benefiting you in the long run in multiple ways, which is really cool. Now, let's skip to this and then we'll come back to this because they're, again, connected. So the Judgment card in reverse and the Strength card are connected as well. And in the, this, my spirit guide was saying is that when you find yourself overly critical of other individuals, this is your clue and sign that you are not in an empowered place. So what I mean when I say that, the Strength card is the part of yourself that's like, you're in a good headspace, you've got a lot of strong will, there's a lot of inner like empowerment of feeling confident to do the next thing, able to really trust your inner voice, know that you can depend on yourself. A lot of confidence comes from this place. Truly, like, it's like the like a true essence of yourself, but the version of yourself you're sort of using as a superpower is like the best way I can explain it. And when it's in reverse, we're talking about like maybe that needs to be, give that some love and attention and it's not in the best place, or, and this is a big one for you, you're just not connected to it and sort of fueling it with a battery. Think of like, and what I mean by when I say that is wherever you're putting your time and attention is what you're basically feeding. So we want to logically put it towards you. And also think of this. This is really something interesting I've talked about with my spirit guides, they're very pro like focus on yourself, because essentially what they told me was that when you keep saying to yourself, I'm the center of my universe, the universe goes, oh, okay. Well, then we'll obviously magnetize all your greatest whims and desires right to you because you're the most important thing on the list. And the cool thing is, you can actually use this ability not just to enjoy your own personal life, but you can even use it as a way to empower other things in the world or yourself and so on and so forth in like grander, bigger schemes, if you get what I'm putting down, so to speak. So it's, if you're ever like, man, I just don't feel in a good place. If you find yourself being overly judgmental of other people, and this is an interesting thing, being judgmental can happen, whether that for yourself or towards other people, can be really subtle. You'll be like, oh, no, but I'm not judging. And it's like, yeah, but you want to re-look at the way you were expressing yourself. Did you need to make an evaluation or an assumption about someone else? Why do you seem so focused on what people are or aren't doing, even if you are so unbothered? Again, this is not a criticism towards you. It's just a headspace sometimes we don't realize we find ourselves in. And that's your little inner clue of like, oh, if I'm focusing in this kind of way and putting this energy out there, it means I'm feeling disconnected and I'm not putting my time and attention towards the innermost empowered part of myself. And honestly, that's one of the best things you can do. You can reconnect with it by like taking moments to tap into yourself and be like, what would this empowered version of myself do? Like answer questions and make decisions from that place. And sometimes just the act of meditating and taking 10 minutes to like sit in your car at lunch or after work to just sort of, again, think inwardly and be like, and you set the intention of, I want to tap into my innermost empowered self. And you sort of just say like, hey, every time I look at it, every time I think from it, every time I make a decision from it, it just grows and I'm more and more aware of it. And I'm more and more deeper connected to it in every moment. You know, whatever beautiful mantra you want to put your headspace into, I'm putting my energy there. I'm putting my time there. So this is your clue. And this is what you do want to focus on. So it's not just a comment of something helpful to help you navigate like a compass, but it is something you want to proactively do and put that intention in after this reading of going to connect to that part of yourself, because it's a wonderful place to come from. It makes you feel good, but it helps you make decisions that you're like, yeah, that feels right. I feel like me when I'm making that decision, which is an awesome place to be in. But in the Page of Cups in reverse, I was told there is some difficulty right now navigating your emotional just state of mind. Like as in like individual emotions. You're having trouble just being like, I'm not quite sure how I feel and what that means, and then therefore what to do with each thing. And I was told the remedy of it would be these two things, which is one, think of it. Again, we go back to that concept of individualizing this moment, this person, what do they need? Sometimes when we relook at our emotions, it can be really helpful to just simplify the process and be like, okay, you don't know the exact word right now. What feels right? Do you need to talk to someone about it, which I always highly recommend? Do you need just like support right now? Do you feel like you would feel better maybe like going to do something that would uplift you? Maybe it's like a headspace you're in. Maybe you want to vent. I mean, it could be so many different things, but you just sort of simplify the process. That's just one way of looking at how this can be brought back to this concept. But also, again, when we're not connected to our most empowered self, it can create us to feel disorganized into other parts of our being, aka our emotions. And what better way to feel in control and feel more connected to our emotions than being like, you know what? Let's centralize it with something that's easy. I don't like X, Y, and Z about this person, or I disagree with that decision. It doesn't mean this is the heart of hearts of where you're coming from and who you are. Not at all. That's not your true inner being. That's not who you really are. but you know that you can make a declarative decision towards it. And it feels nice to have some kind of anchor or certainty when it feels like that's not the case in other parts. And the beautiful thing is, we talked about how to connect about it, how to simplify it, how to centralize it. And remember, don't expect yourself to just instantly have all the answers. I mean, don't get me wrong. On one hand, you can have that. At any point, you can step into that version of yourself. But if at first it kind of feels like, oh, is this it? Is that it? That's all right. Just take it one step at a time. You'll have clarity the more you set the intention of wanting to understand that part of yourself, wanting to figure out what it is you're feeling and moving on and stuff like that. And always feel free to talk to someone. That is always a positive thing that can help even discern it even more. Just to put that out there. Now, moving forward, though, I did see in the 10 of Pentacles, and I clarified with my spirit guide, they said you do want to cut familiar ties. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Because that's a very intense statement. And keep in mind, everybody's got their own personal journey, and sometimes that is in the cards for some people, and that's just like what works for them, and that is, everyone functions differently, and that's like a beautiful thing. And plus, not all connections are what you think they're going to be. You know what I mean? But in your particular case, it's much more of not necessarily that, but this idea of needing to find individuality outside of it. It's almost like with the 10 of Pentacles, I don't want to say too much dependency. Oh, my spirit guide's going, there's too much dependency. Okay, there's too much dependency. There's like too much dependency, and there's almost like you're operating from the unit mindset rather than allowing there to be any sort of space for you to be you individually. Again, we're not criticizing the unit. We're just saying, well, you can still be a unit and you can still love that unit, but it is time for you to be your own person. What do you think and feel? And keep this in mind, because we are meant to be our own individuals, as well as enjoy many individuals together as a unit, you know what I mean? Sometimes we don't know we're feeling other people's feelings, projecting other people's thoughts, and we just feel weird inside. Often that comes off as angry, frustrated, a lot of emotions, lost. And the funny thing is, it's like, yeah, you're lost, yeah, you're angry, because part of you is internally going, I want to say what I want to say. I want to feel what I want to feel. And you aren't aware that you're not allowing yourself that, because that you're coming from a headspace of too much of the unit. You're thinking what everyone else is thinking. You know what I mean? And so you're just going to sort of give yourself a little more room to answer from your own impersonal opinions, your own empowerment, your own emotions, your own connections with people, and just connect to yourself as your own individual person a little more. Again, we're not talking about like totally disbanding from the unit. You know, you can still love your unit, be a part of the unit, but you need a little bit of more focus on yourself and rediscovering who that is, which is really beautiful. And then you can like share that with them, which is really cool. But going on, we have the 5 of Swords upright. So my spirit guide said that you would find a greater happiness if you didn't view things as winning and losing, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now, this one's kind of a harder headspace to get out of, because when you view things this way, it's kind of like, well, then what else is there? Sometimes it doesn't feel like a good enough answer to hear, oh, well, just be. Even though that, trust me, it's sort of like once you get there, you're like, I didn't even know I needed this. You know what I mean? But if you can pull away from that headspace, like when you catch yourself thinking that way, and either maybe, I don't want to say staying away from activities that put you in that headspace, but that might be something to consider. But you want to catch yourself re-examining what are the typical questions and thought processes you go through when you get into this headspace. And then when you catch yourself doing that, when you find your patterns of like, you start to go, why them, not me? I'm going to get it. Yeah, I'm going to even do even better. When you find that part of yourself coming into those terminology, catching yourself and reconnecting to the task at hand. Even asking yourself, do you even like the task you're doing? Do you feel like it brings you more happiness to view yourself doing better than someone? Or would it make you, but like, is that happiness a long-term happiness? Or would you like to find that long-term happiness in enjoying something that is just your own personal interest and values? And then that idea will just naturally evolve from you putting yourself more again into your own individuality, your own empowerment, your own feelings and decision making. It will just, then you'll get into a state of mind where it could be the answer is you simply being, just living life, vibing, doing things you love, and you're not even thinking about anymore at that point in your life that you quote unquote won or lost. You don't see it either way eventually. And there's a sense of like breath of fresh air when you realize like there was never a competition to begin with. You know what I mean? So that is something you want to give a certain sense of precedence to and catch yourself when you're doing that to find true happiness, which is really beautiful. So like I said, overall, really positive, really great directions for you to focus on and get in. Lots of understanding, and it's really beautiful. Tarot's a great way to see how like truly most of the time every part of our life is like interconnected and like affecting the other. And I really like that ultimately this is like a reading that talks about basically being like, you be you, boo. You're perfect. You're great. Be connected to that version of yourself. It's wonderful, special. You're not feeling great because you're not connected to it. And you can easily get reconnected to it. So I love this for you. I would actually love to know in the comments below, how do you feel like you're going to reconnect to this part of yourself? Whether through the empowerment, individuality, how do you feel like you best connect to people and their needs individually and anticipate it? This is not only both fascinating to hear about, but don't underestimate what you share below with what you're comfortable with can benefit and inspire other people. You can make a difference just by you being you, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So please also leave this video a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It means the world to me and it makes such a difference. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you next one, and goodbye.